Welcome back to this peaceful exploration of the mind and body. As you continue to relax, we're going to discover something fascinating: the science behind a sensation almost everyone has experienced. That sudden, sharp cold that strikes when you eat ice cream too quickly. Brain freeze. Let's gently uncover what's really happening in those surprising moments. Brain freeze has a real scientific name, and it's quite a mouthful: sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. Let's break that word down slowly, piece by piece. Sphenopalatine refers to an area in your skull, a specific region behind your nose and the roof of your mouth. Ganglion refers to a cluster of nerve cells. And neuralgia simply means nerve pain. So when you put it all together, sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia literally means pain in the nerve cluster behind your nose and palate. For decades, people thought brain freeze was just a casual term, maybe even something imaginary or exaggerated. But medical science has recognized it as a legitimate condition. It has been studied, documented, and given this proper scientific classification. The fact that it has such a formal name tells us something important. This isn't just discomfort or mild sensitivity. It's a specific physiological response, predictable and measurable, that happens in bodies around the world when certain conditions are met. Researchers have found that about 1/3 of people experience brain freeze regularly. It happens across cultures, across age groups, across continents. A child in Tokyo eating shaved ice, a teenager in New York drinking a frozen smoothie, an adult in London enjoying gelato on a warm day. They might all experience this exact same phenomenon, this sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. What's particularly interesting is that scientists have used brain freeze as a model to study other types of headaches and pain conditions. Because it happens quickly, predictably, and resolves on its own, it's become a useful way to understand how pain signals work in the brain. Something as simple as eating ice cream too fast has actually helped advance our understanding of neurological pain. So the next time you experience brain freeze, you can take a moment to appreciate that you're experiencing a real, documented medical phenomenon, something that connects you to the shared human experience across the entire world. Despite its name, brain freeze doesn't actually happen in your brain at all. The cold never reaches your brain. What's really being affected is the roof of your mouth, that smooth surface called the palate. Your palate is quite sensitive to temperature. Run your tongue across it now, gently, and notice how thin that layer of tissue feels. There's not much between the surface of your mouth and the complex network of blood vessels and nerves that lie just beneath. When something extremely cold, like ice cream or a frozen drink, makes contact with this area, especially the back part of your palate near your throat, it creates a rapid and dramatic temperature change. Your palate, which is normally at body temperature, around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, suddenly encounters something that might be 0 degrees or even below. That's a temperature drop of nearly 100 degrees in an instant. To put that in perspective, imagine stepping out of a warm room directly into Arctic conditions. Your palate experiences that kind of shock in a concentrated area. The confusion about brain freeze affecting the brain is understandable. The pain feels like it's happening in your forehead, behind your eyes, deep inside your head. It certainly feels like something is happening to your brain itself. But this is actually your nervous system playing tricks on you, sending signals that create what's called referred pain. We'll explore that more in a moment. The important thing to understand is that your brain is well protected. It sits inside your skull, surrounded by cerebrospinal fluid, wrapped in protective membranes. The cold from your ice cream cannot possibly reach it. Your brain remains at its normal temperature, safe and unaffected. What you're feeling is your palate's intense reaction to extreme cold, and the way that reaction travels through your nervous system. The cold stays in your mouth, but the sensation of pain travels elsewhere, creating that distinctive brain freeze feeling we all recognize. The real character in the brain freeze story is a nerve called the trigeminal nerve. This is one of the most important nerves in your head, and understanding it helps explain why brain freeze feels the way it does. The trigeminal nerve is actually 3 nerves in one, which is where it gets its name. Tri means 3, and geminal refers to twins or pairs, though in this case it's actually a triplet. These 3 branches spread out across your face like the branches of a tree. One branch covers your forehead and the area around your eyes. Another covers your cheeks and upper jaw. The third covers your lower jaw and chin. Together, these 3 branches are responsible for sensation across almost your entire face. They let you feel touch, temperature, and pain from your scalp down to your jaw. The trigeminal nerve also innervates the roof of your mouth, that palate we talked about earlier. So when something cold touches your palate, it's the trigeminal nerve that registers the sensation and sends the signal racing up to your brain. Here's where it gets interesting. The trigeminal nerve is incredibly fast and incredibly sensitive. It has to be. Your face needs to react quickly to potential dangers, to anything that might hurt your eyes, your nose, your mouth. Evolution has made this nerve a priority, a high-speed pathway for important sensory information. So when extreme cold hits your palate, the trigeminal nerve doesn't send a gentle, modest signal. It sends an urgent, intense signal. And because all three branches of this nerve converge at the same place in your brainstem before relaying information to your brain, the signal can get a bit mixed up. Your brain receives this intense pain signal from the trigeminal nerve, but it's not entirely sure which branch it came from. Is it from the mouth? The forehead? Somewhere in between? This confusion is part of why brain freeze feels so strange and so specifically located in your forehead, even though the cold never touched your forehead at all. The trigeminal nerve is simply doing its job, protecting you by alerting you to a dramatic temperature change. It's just doing it so intensely and so quickly that the resulting sensation feels overwhelming. When cold touches the roof of your mouth, your body responds immediately at a vascular level. The blood vessels in that area constrict, squeezing down tight. This happens in milliseconds. Blood vessel constriction is one of your body's automatic responses to cold. You might have noticed this in your fingers on a cold day. They turn pale, maybe even a little white, as the blood vessels near the surface constrict. Your body is trying to conserve heat, pulling warm blood away from the cold surface and keeping it deeper in your core where vital organs need it. The same thing happens in your palate. When ice cream or a cold drink touches this warm tissue, the blood vessels there immediately contract. They're trying to minimize heat loss, trying to protect the area from the cold. But the palate is special. It has an unusually high concentration of blood vessels because it's close to many important structures. Your sinuses, your nasal passages, the base of your skull, all of these areas need good blood flow. The blood vessels in your palate are particularly responsive, particularly quick to react. When these vessels constrict rapidly, it reduces blood flow to the area. Less blood means less warmth being delivered, but it also means less oxygen, less pressure in those vessels. This sudden change in blood flow and pressure is part of what triggers the pain response. Think of a garden hose. When water is flowing freely through it, everything is fine. But if you suddenly pinch the hose, the pressure changes dramatically. The water flow becomes restricted. Something similar happens with your blood vessels during brain freeze. This constriction is so rapid and so intense that it creates a cascade of reactions. It's not just a gentle narrowing. It's a sudden, forceful response to what your body perceives as a threat. And as we'll see in a moment, your body doesn't leave things constricted for long. It immediately begins trying to correct what it sees as a problem. Your body doesn't like those constricted blood vessels. Within moments of constricting, it begins to reverse course, and it does so dramatically. The blood vessels that just squeeze tight now swing in the opposite direction, dilating, opening up wide. This is called vasodilation, and it happens as a protective response. Your body senses that blood flow has been restricted, and it wants to restore normal circulation as quickly as possible. So it sends signals to those blood vessels to open up, to let blood flow freely again. But here's where things get interesting. Your body tends to overcorrect. It doesn't just open those vessels back to their normal size. It opens them wider than they were before. Blood comes rushing back into the area more than before, faster than before. Imagine a dam holding back water, then suddenly opening. The water doesn't flow calmly. It rushes through with force. That's similar to what happens with blood flow during brain freeze. After a moment of restriction, blood comes flooding back. This rapid dilation is actually the primary cause of the pain you feel. When blood vessels expand quickly, especially when they expand beyond their normal size, it creates pressure. The walls of the vessel stretch. The surrounding tissue feels this expansion. And because there are so many nerve endings in this area, all connected to that sensitive trigeminal nerve, this pressure is interpreted as pain. Scientists have studied this process carefully using special imaging techniques. They can actually watch the blood vessels in the palate and nearby areas constrict and then dilate during brain freeze. They've measured the timing, and it's remarkably fast. The entire cycle of constriction and dilation happens in just a few seconds. This overcorrection is your body trying to help, trying to restore normal blood flow and warm up the cold area. But in its enthusiasm, it creates the very sensation we're trying to avoid. The cure, in this case, temporarily feels worse than the problem. Your body is protecting you, but the protection itself hurts. It might seem strange to think of brain freeze as protective, but that's exactly what it is. Pain is never random. It's always a signal, a message from your body that something needs attention. In the case of brain freeze, your body is warning you about rapid temperature change. It's saying, quite loudly, something cold is affecting this sensitive area, and you should stop what you're doing. It's not a subtle hint. It's an alarm. This makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. Your ancestors didn't have ice cream, but they did have winter, frozen streams, cold environments. If someone drank extremely cold water too quickly or bit into something frozen, their body needed a way to say, slow down. This could be harmful. The roof of your mouth is close to many important structures. Your sinuses, your brain, your spinal cord, major blood vessels that feed your brain. Your body is protective of this region. Any sudden, extreme change in this area triggers a defensive response. That's why brain freeze hurts so much despite being harmless. Your body doesn't know it's just ice cream. All it knows is that there's a rapid temperature drop in a sensitive area, and historically, rapid temperature changes could indicate real danger. Frostbite, hypothermia, tissue damage. These are real risks in nature. So your body errs on the side of caution. It creates enough pain to make you stop whatever you're doing immediately. You pause. You wait. You let the cold dissipate. And from your body's perspective, the warning worked. You've been protected from potential harm. This is true of almost all pain. A headache tells you to rest. A stomachache tells you something you ate might be wrong. A sharp pain when you touch something hot tells you to pull your hand away. Pain is information, a crucial part of your body's defense system. Brain freeze is perhaps the most harmless version of this protective pain. Nothing is actually damaged. No real danger exists. But your body doesn't know that, and it's not taking chances. It sounds the alarm every time just to be safe. And while it's unpleasant, there's something reassuring about knowing your body is always watching, always protecting, always ready to warn you when it senses potential danger. Here's a fascinating connection that scientists have discovered. People who experience migraine headaches are significantly more likely to experience brain freeze. The two conditions seem to be related in some way. Research has shown that people with migraines are about twice as likely to get brain freeze as people who don't suffer from migraines. This isn't a coincidence. There's something about the way their nervous systems respond to stimuli that makes them more susceptible to both conditions. Both migraines and brain freeze involve the trigeminal nerve, that same nerve we discussed earlier. Both involve changes in blood vessel size, constriction followed by dilation. Both create referred pain, where the location you feel the pain isn't necessarily where the problem originates. Scientists have started studying brain freeze specifically because it might help them understand migraines better. Migraines are complex and difficult to study. They don't happen on command. They last for hours or even days. Each person's experience is different. But brain freeze? Brain freeze is predictable. You can trigger it deliberately in a laboratory. It happens fast and resolves fast. It's like a miniature, accelerated version of some of the processes that happen during a migraine. By studying what happens in the blood vessels and nerves during brain freeze, researchers hope to understand the vascular and neurological changes that occur during migraines. They're looking for common mechanisms, common triggers, common pathways of pain. Some researchers believe that people with migraines have more sensitive trigeminal nerves, or blood vessels that react more dramatically to stimuli. This would explain why they're more prone to both conditions. Their nervous systems are simply more reactive, more sensitive to changes. If you get frequent brain freeze and you also experience headaches, it might be worth mentioning to a doctor. While brain freeze itself is harmless, the connection to migraines is real, and understanding your patterns of pain can be helpful for managing your overall health. This connection reminds us that our bodies are interconnected systems. A sensitivity in one area often connects to sensitivity in another. The same nerve pathways, the same blood vessels, the same mechanisms of pain can show up in different ways, creating different experiences that share common roots. One of the most distinctive things about brain freeze is its timing. It happens suddenly, intensely, and then disappears almost as quickly as it came. From the moment cold touches your palate to the moment you feel that sharp pain in your forehead, usually only a few seconds pass. Sometimes it's almost instantaneous. You take a bite of ice cream and before you've even swallowed, the pain is there. The pain typically peaks within 5 to 10 seconds. That moment of maximum intensity, where you might close your eyes, press your hand to your forehead, stop moving entirely. That peak is brief but memorable. And then, just as suddenly, it begins to fade. Most brain freeze episodes are completely resolved within 30 to 60 seconds. Some people experience them for up to a minute or two, but rarely longer. The pain rises, peaks, and falls like a wave, and then it's gone as if it never happened. This rapid onset and resolution is part of what makes brain freeze so distinctive. Other types of headaches build gradually and fade gradually. They linger. They can last for hours. But brain freeze is sharp and brief, a spike of pain that appears and disappears with remarkable speed. The fast resolution happens because the trigger is temporary. The cold in your mouth warms up quickly. Your body temperature begins normalizing that tissue almost immediately. The blood vessels that constricted and then dilated start returning to their normal state. The signals to your trigeminal nerve calm down. Your body is remarkably efficient at restoring balance. It doesn't need outside intervention to fix brain freeze. It simply needs a moment to regulate temperature, stabilize blood flow, and calm the nerve signals. And it does this automatically without you having to think about it. This speed is actually reassuring. If brain freeze lasted for hours or required medication to resolve, it would be a much more concerning condition. But because it passes so quickly, because your body fixes it on its own every single time, we can recognize it for what it is, a temporary, harmless protective response that might be uncomfortable but is never dangerous. The next time you experience brain freeze, you might try just observing it. Notice how quickly it comes. Notice the peak. Notice how it fades. It's a small example of your body's remarkable ability to detect problems, signal for attention, and then resolve issues all on its own in less than a minute. There's a simple remedy for brain freeze, and understanding why it works brings us full circle to where we began. Warming the mouth stops the pain. When you experience brain freeze, the most effective thing you can do is warm up the roof of your mouth. You can do this by pressing your tongue against your palate, sharing the warmth from your tongue with the cold tissue above it. You can take a sip of room temperature water and hold it in your mouth for a moment. You can even cup your hands and breathe warm air into them, then drink in that warmth. This works because it addresses the root cause. Remember, brain freeze happens because of a rapid temperature change that causes blood vessels to constrict and then dilate. By warming the area, you're helping those blood vessels return to normal more quickly. You're reducing the temperature shock. You're giving your body the conditions it needs to stabilize. The trigeminal nerve, which has been sending those intense pain signals, calms down when the temperature normalizes. The blood vessels stop their dramatic changes and settle into their regular rhythm. The emergency response ends because the emergency, as far as your body can tell, is over. Some people find that drinking something cold slowly, warming it in their mouth before swallowing, helps prevent brain freeze in the first place. Others learn to eat cold foods more slowly, giving their palate time to adjust to the temperature gradually rather than shocking it with sudden cold. But if prevention fails and brain freeze strikes, remember that you have a simple tool available. Warmth. Your own body temperature is the cure. You don't need medication or special techniques. Just the simple act of warming that cold spot on your palate. This is elegant in a way. The problem is cold and the solution is warmth. The cause and the remedy are perfectly opposite, perfectly balanced. Your body created the pain as a warning, and once you address what it's warning you about, the pain disappears. It's a small reminder that many of our body signals have simple answers. When we're thirsty, we need water. When we're tired, we need rest. When we've shocked our palate with cold, we need warmth. Our bodies are constantly communicating with us, and often the solutions they're asking for are simpler than we expect. And so we've explored the mystery of brain freeze. From the scientific name to the trigeminal nerve, from constricting blood vessels to misinterpreted pain signals, from protection to prevention. What seemed like a simple reaction to cold ice cream turns out to be a complex symphony of nerves, blood vessels, and protective responses, all working together in your remarkable body. Let this knowledge rest gently in your mind as you continue to relax, knowing a little more about the fascinating ways your body protects and signals and heals itself. Rest peacefully.